points are gained or points are lost, there will be much to discuss. For analysis regarding tonight's Winnipeg Jets game, here are Dave Manouk, Ezra Ginsburg, and your host, Drew Mindell. The Illegal Curve post-game show starts now.
When opportunity knocks, do you answer the door? Or do you just tell them to leave it on the porch and you'll pick it up whenever you want to? Pittsburgh Penguins tonight took advantage of that opportunity. They heard it knocking and they picked it up and they said, thank you very much. The Winnipeg Jets, in their few opportunities where they could have picked it up, failed to do so. And as a result, the Winnipeg Jets start the post-All-Star break portion of their schedule with a very disappointing 3-0 loss in Pittsburgh, a place that has been a house of horrors for Winnipeg Jets teams, both 1.0, 2.0, and if you want to go way back, even the Thrashers, they sucked in Pittsburgh as well. So there's something to be said for consistency there, Mr. Manouk, in how the Winnipeg Jets perform in, I believe Pittsburgh is Western Pennsylvania, if I'm not mistaken.
It is Western Pennsylvania. It's true. It's closer to Detroit, I believe, than it is to Philadelphia, interestingly enough, because I remember that from my Pittsburgh and Detroit 2008-2009 Stanley Cups. And the fine folks, lots of folks from Western Pennsylvania came to Michigan to see the Red Wings and Penguins play. But enough about that. And yesteryear, this is about today and what's going on with these Jets who now have been shut out, Drew, 3 times in the last 7 games. They've scored a grand total of 3 goals in the last 4 games, outscored 12-3 during that time. Twice, of course, shut out. So it's look, it's not great. You can say, you can hold on to some hollow victories and say, well, hey, at the same time, the Jets, they played well 5-on-5. Well, playing well on 5-on-5 is great. You got to score goals. This game is about, and look, I'll be honest with you. We looked at the lineup in advance of tonight's game, and you don't expect them to have everything put together. I've been at, Hockey for All Center the last 2 days, and they've looked fine practicing together. It's all well and good to practice. It's another thing to take on an opponent who's hungry. I mean, let's be realistic. Pittsburgh is a hungry team, and they're even though they're currently out of a playoff spot, out of the wild card spot. Interestingly, they're closer to third in the Metro than they are to the wild card spot, which I think Detroit had on them coming into today's game by 7, and they think they were 5 back of Philadelphia, who I think won in. I should know. My parents are at the game in Florida right now.
They did. They won 2-1.
Yeah, so they'll remain 5 back of Philly, who's in third in the Metro, but they have 4 games on hand on both Philly and on Detroit. So look, the fact of the matter is Pittsburgh is a veteran team, and they're a team that came out the right way. And the Jets, they had the same. Both these teams had the same amount of break. Both these teams had been off the same amount of time. So there's no excuse to say, well, these guys were rested and we were not, or these guys have been playing and we were not. The reality for this Jets club, and they had some flashes, and we obviously are going to have to talk about the Brendan Dillon major, because that was, as Jamie McLennan called it on the broadcast, the TSN game changer. Yeah. I'm not sure I'm actually trademarked, but regardless of whether it is or isn't, the fact of the matter is that was obviously the biggest difference in the hockey game.
Yeah, there's no question about that. And we'll get into it, of course, as we get into the during the Betway game recap here on the Illegal Curve post-game show. I don't think I've said it yet, so I got to say good evening, Winnipeg. Good evening, Manitoba. And for all those joining us live this evening on our YouTube channel and all of our social media platforms, we say good evening, universe, and welcome to the Illegal Curve post-game show. Drew Mindell, Dave Manouk with you here. First game back after the All-Star break. It is Tuesday. It is February the 6th. Nice to see so many of you here to talk about the Jets and the Penguins. Look, I know what people are going to say, and I understand why they're saying it. The underlying numbers for this Jets team in tonight's game, 5-on-5, were not bad. They, in fact, they had the Corsi advantage. They had the expected goals advantage. 5-on-5, the Jets, played a pretty good hockey game. The problem is, and it's becoming more and more of a problem, that you can't just lean on the 5-on-5 numbers anymore, is that they lose in all the other aspects of the game. And when you lose in all the other aspects of the game so decisively, and it's such a one-sided loss, that even if you win by a small margin at 5-on-5, it doesn't overcome the other defeat. So that's where the Jets are at, and they're in one, and they're not in a good one. It's not like a fun one where they're everything they throw on net goes in. This is a team right now that is struggling to score goals. It's a team right now that is just struggling, generally struggling. And, I'm not prepared to say that this is going to be like last year, because I don't believe it will be. But right now, the Jets need to find a way. They need somebody to drag them out of the muck, to drag them, back into the way they were playing before. And, now that they're healthy, that's going to go a long way.
Mm-hmm.
So when you're in the muck and you can't score because Scheifele's out of your lineup and, everybody else is banged up or is just sort of finding their legs. Yeah, I get that. Tonight, look, Mark Scheifele I thought was a very good player for the Winnipeg Jets tonight. I think by and large, the Jets were, their game looked similar to how it looked when they were succeeding. The problem is, those are platitudes a little bit right now, where they need to find a way to overcome that and actually perform on the scoreboard. And that's where this team has been struggling as of late, having now lost for the first time all year 4 games in a row.
Yeah, and again, it's ultimately this is coming down to scoring right now, and the excuses that that you could hear is that, oh well, we didn't have this person, we didn't have that person. First of all, I mean, correct me if I'm wrong, but when Kyle Connor missed 16 games and they went 12-2-2, they still scored goals. Yeah. And remember, they scored goals, even though he would he have 17 or 18 goals at that time. I think it was 17, and then he scored his 18th into the empty net when he came back against the Islanders. Right. But regardless of whether it was, maybe it was 18, 19, whatever it was.
He hasn't been very good since he came back.
I'm not even talking about Kyle Connor, though. I'm just saying that the fact of the matter is, during those 16 games, the Jets managed to score some goals. Right?
So you're missing 11 goals in the last 8 games.
I know that. I'm saying that the fact of the matter is, you have all of these guys who can score, who your depth scorers, who all showed up. And, we talked about it throughout the course of that stretch where we're lauding the platitudes on this team and telling them, talking about all the pros that they had done. And then what was it? It was the fact that they were scoring up and down the lineup. We were saying, well, you don't need that top line to score when you get goals from X, from Y, and from Z. Now the problem is, of course, is that when you're not getting goals from X and Y and Z or span C, then you're going to be in a bit of a tailspin, because ultimately your numbers at 5-on-5 can be great. But as Gordy said, and I highlighted the comment, I mean, if you're not scoring goals, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter how well these moral victories aren't anything that you get to hang your hat on. Now you could say, well, we're in, and again, I'm with you. I don't think, oh, this is the exact same thing as last year, and right away you go to that and say, well, that's what that is happening to this team. But they've got to do something. They've got to do something, because right now, they're not scoring goals. And it's not, clearly, as you just outlined, Drew, not just now, not like the last day, not like, and again, time is obviously suspect because they had 10 days off between today's game and that game against the Leafs, or 9 days between them, whatever it was. Yeah. So, again, like, we're not going to say, well, it's been 3 weeks, because that doesn't matter. The fact of the matter is, you look at the number of games, and for the number of the games that the Jets have been playing, they're not getting it done. And they're not getting it done on the score sheet. And so that's your big boys. I mean, look, this is the reason why you pay Kyle Connor. This is the reason why you pay Mark Scheifele. This is the reason why you pay Gabriel Velarde, or, you're going to want that big payment. These are the drivers. Now, look,
this is why you go out and acquire Sean Monahan, so that he's, and look, we're not laying blame on the feet of these guys for tonight's result, but you do need these guys to drag the team out of the muck. Like I was just saying, you need these guys to, generate your offense. And I know that, the Jets don't want to cheat defense for offense. And I get that, and that's totally acceptable and totally understanding. And that's what they built their success so far this year on the backbone of that good defense. But at a point in time, 11 goals in 8 games, it's not enough. You need to find a way. You were doing it earlier in the year, so you need to find a way to get back to doing that. And it shouldn't be that difficult to do, to be perfectly honest, because you go up and down that lineup, and the Jets should be able to match up against all their opponents, especially when they're healthy. Their 12 forwards should be able to match up. when you have that fourth line, and they had a good opportunity in today's game, Nemesnikov and Iafallo and Barron, that line should be able to outscore whomever they're playing against at 5-on-5. And I think ultimately they will. But the problem right now is, look at tonight's game. It's a 1-0 game at 5-on-5, and you give up the two goals against the league's worst power play. Yes, it's the puck is it's not like that was a beautiful Pittsburgh power play. I think the puck is definitely not bouncing the Jets' way, because on both of those power play goals, and we'll get into it, the puck takes fortuitous bounces for the Penguins.
Sure.
But, again, the Jets need to find a way to overcome that. They still need to find a way to, get themselves back into where they are. I don't care how good your defense is. If you don't score goals, you're not going to win games. It's that simple. And the Jets right now can't score any goals.
No, for sure. And let's talk about the power play. Now,
well,
again, we're not gonna look. There was a very good video. I highlighted it today. If you didn't get a chance to watch it, obviously don't go right now because you're watching the show, I would hope. But if you get a chance, go watch the video that I posted on illegalcurve.com. It was really good. It was on Daily Faceoff, and it was basically about how Sean Monahan in the bumper position can really have an impact on. Why are you laughing?
I'm laughing because Sean Monahan in the bumper position can, if the Jets could ever set up on the power play. When you can't set up on the power play, it doesn't matter who's playing in the bumper position.
Well, absolutely. So John Goins, who used to be a QMJHL coach for a couple of clubs, he's now at TSN 690, play-by-play. He might be a color broadcaster. Yeah, he's an analyst for both the Canadians and the Laval Rocket games. And he went through the Jets power play and why it is so stagnant and why it has failed so often. And then he talked about Montreal's power play. Now, Montreal's power play was not good for a long stretch of the season. When did Montreal's power play get good? When they moved Sean Monahan into the bumper position. Now, it's not going to matter twofold. Number one, if you don't get that first line on, really, because I know that they drew the power plays, and so therefore they were not able to start. And I do have, look, ending games with the timeout in your back pocket, maybe it would have been advantageous to call timeout, rest those guys up for 30 seconds and get them back out there for at least the second one, because you're trying to get back into this game. You need to do something, And so you've got that. And again, they had 0 shots. They had 0 shots in the first power play. They had 1 shot on the second power play. So this is a continued failure. Now, again, nobody expected, and despite the video that I referenced a few minutes earlier, you're not expecting Sean Monahan to come in after 2 practices with the Jets and suddenly the power play is resolved of the issues that it was dealing with before, because it's not going to be. But again, this is a team that just there's no excuse. And let me tell you something. What this team shouldn't be doing in February, Drew, is canceling practice. Because
I disagree with you on this one. They're
not playing any games.
I am going to defer to the coaching staff when it comes to practice time. I'm going to defer to the experts on this one when it comes to practice time. They know when they need to practice and they know when they need to rest. So I do think I'm going to rely on their expertise in this instance.
I'm just saying for the next stretch.
Yeah.
This is something, especially when you're trying to bring someone new into the system. Like tomorrow, they're scheduled to practice in New Jersey. Right?
Yes, they are.
Friday, they're scheduled to practice in Winnipeg. Then they're off Sunday, which is Super Bowl Sunday. Right. I'm just suggesting that right now in this stretch of time, you could say, oh, these guys need a break. They need to get away from the rink. Sorry, we're talking an hour on the ice. Like the rest of the day is your day off. You need that time on the ice to work on this. Their 5-on-5 play is fine. Don't do line rushes. Nobody's asking you to. But work on your PK, work on your power play. That's what this team needs to do.
Let's get into tonight's game. It's the Betway game recap here on the Illegal Curve post-game show.
The Betway game recap.
Big thanks to our friends at Betway for their continued support of the Illegal Curve post-game show. Betway is one of the most trusted voices in sports betting, both in Canada and all around the world. Maybe you're looking to place a wager on the upcoming football game on Sunday. People have been known, I know, Dave, hold on to your hat. People have been known to place a wager on the Super Bowl. I know that is stunning news that everybody is going to have to take a second to recalibrate themselves when they hear that, but it's true. And we would encourage you, if you are going to make a wager, and we do encourage you to do so responsibly, of course, to use our friends at Betway to make that wager. So what are you waiting for? Maybe you like the Chiefs. Maybe you like the Niners. Maybe you want to be in Hustler's good books. Maybe you want to be in Hustler's doghouse. Whatever it might be, head on over to Betway and bet your way. Must be 19 years or older to play. You knew it was going to be a bit of a slog to start this game, both teams having had the lengthy time off, and it was a bit of a slog in the early minutes of tonight's contest. But then the Penguins, and maybe this is an emblematic sign of the way the rest of the game was going to go, Dave M, is that the Penguins get the early goal, and it's really a bad bounce. We talked about the bounce is not going the Winnipeg Jets' way, and this is another one of those examples. It's Chris Letang. He gets his fourth goal of the season. It's unassisted. Everything the Jets do on this play is right, is proper, is how it's designed to be. Morrissey going up the middle. I know everyone says you never pass it up the middle. Well, you watch hockey nowadays, folks. The breakout always starts up the middle nowadays because they're pinching against the boards. The pass is there to Lowry. It just hops over Lowry's stick. He's in decent position for the pass. It hops over a stick, and Chris Letang, who's certainly a grizzled veteran at this point of his career, intercepts the loose puck, skates in, and beats Connor Hellebuck with the backhand. A bad bounce. Maybe you can blame Madonna. She played in the arena in Pittsburgh. Maybe it was her fault that the ice wasn't very good early in the game. But whatever it is, it's 1-0 for Pittsburgh on the scoreboard, Dave.
Yeah, and apparently she didn't get on till like 10 o'clock, 10:30 at night. So
Madonna's crowd, which I'm surprised about. Madonna's crowd is like in their 40s and 50s. These people need to go home to bed. I mean, I don't want my concert starting that late. I'm ready to go to bed. I like a good solid on-time concert. Make it finish, make it wrap. Let me get home by about 10:30. I'm going to enjoy it. I mean,
Drew, what are you talking about? Your last concert was Dr. Dre. I mean, you're
but it started on time, and I'm going to Ice Cube at the end of the month, and he better damn well start on time as well. Otherwise, I'm going to be upset because I got a babysitter I got to relieve, and I'm old and I want to go to bed.
Fair enough. I think look, you're looking at this play, and one of the things that we hear about now is, first of all, you got to credit Pittsburgh. They had a great forecheck, and they attack the Jets and they pressure them. And the other thing is, there's like Appleton is in deep, but then he's kind of caught in no man's land. And so the problem is, yeah, you're right. You could say, okay, that's where the relief is supposed to go. And Dylan DeMello hands his Drew sits down. That's definitely true, Stanzella. But you look at one of the things they talk about is don't hand off your problems to somebody else. And it seems like with DeMello, knowing that the pressure is there, gets it over to Morrissey. And because but the problem is with DeMello is he didn't look back to see that Morrissey was also under pressure. So Adam Lowry, again, also caught in a bit of a no man's land. He's forced to reach because he's not moving properly. So he goes the wrong way. Letang goes the other way. And you're right. You got to give Letang credit. He's a veteran. He's played a few games in his day. But at the end of the day, I mean, the Jets were a bit under fire, right? I mean, I think it was like 4-1 shots at that point for Pittsburgh, and ends up
7-1 early.
It was 7-1. Yeah, it was 7-1. I think halfway through the game. So we talk about the Jets, and I heard it on the broadcast. The first periods have been terrible for the Jets. It's been an absolute slog for Winnipeg. They don't give up a lot of goals, but they also don't score a lot of goals in that first period. So a lot of these, as he hates it when we say it, but a lot of low event opening periods of play with these Winnipeg Jets. And that's a bit of an issue because, you can say, well, both teams were in the exact same position with the exception of one team was the visitor and one team was the home team. But from a scheduling perspective, they were both in the same scenario. And maybe going to Montana was what the Jets needed to do a la Sidney Crosby and take pictures of wolves and caribou or not caribou, I guess, elk and moose and whatever Crosby was doing for a few days. Apparently that's what he was doing. Why he missed the draft in Toronto is because he was shooting pictures of wildlife. So, and skating on.
He was a cameraman.
Well, I don't know if he was a cameraman or more, maybe he's a wildlife man, something after my own heart. But regardless, That is where Sidney Crosby was, and maybe the Jets should have followed his lead because he knows a thing or two about success. But on that opening play, it's just it's kind of a cavalcade of errors by the Jets and a good forecheck by the Penguins. And unfortunately, the Jets handed off their problems one too many times and ultimately ends up in the back of the net.
Yeah, and so the Pittsburgh's got the early 1-0 lead, and I thought the Jets found their game a little bit later on in that first period. I think it was that first period. Mark Scheifele had the good scoring opportunity where he had
Nikolai Ehlers.
Nikolai Ehlers had the good opportunity, is right. Scheifele with that strong net drive. I mean, I thought Scheifele, of all the Jets forwards today, I thought he was certainly one of the most engaged, if not the most engaged forward for the Winnipeg Jets. I thought he had a pretty solid game for the Jets. And was dangerous. And well, I mean, he did score a goal, but it ended up not counting, which we'll get into in the third period. But I thought Scheifele, look, he didn't. It didn't look like he was maybe 98%. He looked like he was back to normal. Coming off of the injury that cost him the last 6 games before the All-Star break. So he had the requisite jump and everything else that he needed to have.
You mean the day-to-day injury he suffered on January 11th?
Yeah, well, everything's day to day. I'm day to day also. Every day I wake up, I'm day to day. I'm never entirely sure if I'm going to make it or not. But
you mean like David Gustafsson being on IR despite the fact that he's been in a regular jersey for like the last 2 weeks?
Well, what? I guess the rule, if you're not cheating, you're not trying. I believe that was the old saying. I can't remember exactly which football coach that was. Was that Vince Lombardi? I'm not sure. But
no, by the way, we just talked about that one in the last show, I think.
Yeah, I know we did. I'm running out of material here. I got to start up. I got to get new material is what it boils down to. In any event, I see everybody's now.
Eddie Guerrero, Drew.
Well, no, I mean, I think that was I don't think he was the first.
Eddie Guerrero was the first person.
The wrestler was the first person to come up with that. That was it. Okay, fine. I'll play tribute to Latino Heat in that case. Anyways, 1-0 for the Penguins after 20 minutes. But from a Jets fan's perspective, you're not panicking. You're not doing anything. You're not worried at this point in time because the Jets really started to play better in that second period, and they came out and had a good, strong opening couple shifts in that second period where I believe they almost got almost the full line change in, and Pittsburgh was really on their heels for a while. And then, the TSN turning point, as Jamie McLennan said, Dave, it's a no-brainer. It's Brendan Dillon. He gets a 5-minute match penalty for a hit to the head of Noel Acciari. And I don't think there's malice involved in it. But intent follows the bullet, as they say in the court of law, and the bullet in this case was Brendan Dillon's shoulder, and the victim was Noel Acciari's head. It's a clear, it's the right call. It's a 5-minute major, and he gets the match penalty, and he's kicked out of the game. And the Penguins are able to capitalize. Took him a while getting going. I thought the Jets maybe were gonna, it took them 3 minutes in the 5-minute power play, to finally get going. But I guess to start with your thoughts on the hit, and do you expect that there's going to be additional discipline handed out as a result of this hit?
I mean, I'm sure they're going to suspend him for half the season because that's what, it's completely opposite of what should happen. My guess is that he gets a 1 or 2 game suspension. Wouldn't it be nice if you had Declan Chisholm if you needed an extra defenseman in this time of need? But they do not because, of course, he's with the Minnesota Wild. So it looks like Logan Stanley time because Ville Heinola is off in parts unknown right now on the AHL All-Star break. Of course, I'm sure if he was told he was getting in the lineup, he'll be back as soon as he needs to. Dominic Toninato, of course, has been practicing as the 8th defenseman. So I guess they've always got Dominic if they need to. But if you like my initial reaction without the benefit of replay, I thought that I actually thought it was a collision. I actually originally thought that Dillon, again, it's hard because Pionk is there almost like a wall, kind of set, like almost like a screen.
They're sealing him off.
Yeah, they're sealing him off. That's right. Yeah. And Dillon, it kind of had a feeling of like almost the Bufflin hit on Stone. You can see him coming through, and then I saw the way, and of course the helmet pops off. So initially, I just thought it was a collision. And then I was like, well, it was going for a hit, obviously, but I actually thought they just kind of collided. Then I saw the replay, and he's tucked in, and again, the problem is Acciari is low.
Big guy, little guy.
That's right. And he's low. So, I mean, do I think there's a significant amount of intent? No. Do I understand the call on the ice? I do. Do I think there's supplemental discipline? at most 2 games. At most 2 games. I mean, I'm sorry, like with some of the stuff, some of the things we've seen from Department of Player Safety, whatever their name is, I can't see it being more than 2 games. Like it would be unfathomable. And I understand he's got history, not recent history, but he does have history in terms of suspension.
But he's not considered a repeat offender because the
I
last
know
time he was suspended was like 6 years ago or something.
Yeah, no, that's what I was gonna say. It's been a long time. So it's not something that's like, it's there, it's on the record, but it's not recent. So I can't see it being more than 2.
Mm-hmm.
I really can't. I wouldn't be shocked if it was 1. I would be shocked if it was none, because they'll say, oh, we got to get these hits out of the game and yada, yada, yada. So my guess is it won't be 0. It won't be more than 2. So I'm saying 1 or 2.
So if it's not 0 and it's not more than 2, then okay, you've narrowed it down pretty well.
1 or 2.
I think that it's the proper hockey play gone bad. Brendan Dillon is stepping up here like he's been taught to do, like the Jets have had such great success with their defense, is stepping up in the neutral zone. And, Achari is 5'10". And so if you're listed at 5'10", that probably means you're closer to 5'9". And we know how big Brendan Dillon is. So it's just, it's almost, once you commit to laying that hit, there's almost no target for Brendan Dillon to hit on Noel Achari that isn't his head. And that's sort of just an unfortunate reality of big guy, little guy. It's, Brendan Dillon probably physically can't get low enough to deliver that hit to a spot that isn't Achari's head. And so as a result, it's the right call, in that, he definitely got him in the head. He definitely was a headshot, and Achari was in a bad, was hurt, and we saw it, and we hope that, we hope that he's recovers quickly from this one. It's just the reality is that probably, I don't really fault Brendan Dillon for stepping up in that case, but at the same time, you also, even though it's really easy for me to say, you almost want him to have enough realization as to who he's hitting, who he's lining up, and trying not to deliver the hit in that instance, because there's no good result for that hit for the Jets. It's a really difficult play for all involved. There's no malice. Brendan Dillon is a physical, tough player, but nobody has ever thought of him as being particularly dirty. He plays a physical brand of defense. It's just a bad result all around. And, look, the Penguins, to their credit, their power play, which has been much maligned all season long because it's been terrible, is able to, get off the schneid on this one and get 2 goals. They get the first goal to make it 2-0 at the 7:33 mark of the second period. So it's 3 minutes and 18 seconds into the 5-minute major. And really, up until this point in time, the Penguins had looked pretty terrible when it comes to their power play. But this one, it's Jeff Carter getting his 6th of the year, assist to Lars Eller and Erik Karlsson. And again, I don't think that I think this is more fortuitous than anything else, Dave. Karlsson has the point shot. He's just trying to sort of get it towards the net. And then Lars Eller, his deflection is almost so, it causes a changeup. And Nate Schmidt, who's the defenseman who's fronting Jeff Carter on this one, is sort of handcuffed by the changeup of Eller's stick hitting the puck. And it goes right to Carter, and Carter makes no mistake in tucking it behind Connor Hellebuck. Again, Nate Schmidt is probably in a pretty good position here. It's just that Eller gets enough on it that it sort of redirects and knuckles through him. And once the defenseman is fronting the player, as we know, they front all the guys now. Once that puck gets through, well, then it's just player versus goalie. And in this case, Carter defeats Hellebuck.
Well, Carter's been a pretty good scorer in his career. He doesn't have those 2 Stanley Cup championships by accident, but I mean, first of all, he makes a nice play. He makes a veteran play, because what does he do? He gives Nate Schmidt a nice little cross check from behind, moves him out of position, gives himself that separation.
Yeah.
And you're right. The puck is, I mean, Nate Schmidt's focused on the puck. The puck changes direction, so it handcuffs him. There's no question about that. But again, if he's tight to Carter, then at least he can tie him up. But Carter, again, because he's a veteran,
And
does exactly what he knows how to get space. So he cross-checks him, not in a sufficient amount to get a penalty, but enough to create that opportunity. And it's just a good luck or puck luck for the Penguins because the puck bounces right to him and he beats Connor Hellebuck. So, I mean, look, the Jets had played a really nice PK to that point. As we talked about, that's over 3.5 minutes, not 3.5 minutes, but over 3 minutes of PK on the 5-minute major. And we knew that was going to be the tone setter for this game. If the Jets managed to get through that, which again, through 3 minutes, they looked like they were okay. If they get through that 5-minute kill, that's here's a Captain Obvious for you. That's a very different hockey game. Or even if they just get through that kill, giving up one, quite frankly, if they just managed to limit Pittsburgh to one, and you know, the folks are putting it in the chat are talking about how Tristan Jarry's been a jet killer. And obviously his numbers are very good, but ultimately you got to look at this, that chance and you give the Penguins credit because they executed it well. And the Jets PK, which had been humming along, relatively speaking, I know that they gave up. Would they give up 1 or 2 against Toronto? But whatever it was,
yeah, something like that. After it sort of got out of hand there, I think.
Yeah, but ultimately the fact is that they had been they'd been doing well, and they give up that one. So you're like, okay, well, it's an unfortunate play, but you credit the Penguins for executing their game plan because that's what they did.
Yeah, exactly right. So the Penguins take advantage of that, and they're up 2-0. And then a minute and 30 seconds later, they make it 3-0. This one is Brian Rust getting his 12th of the year assist to Jake Gensel and Sidney Crosby. And again, it's another sort of fortuitous bounce that the Penguins are able to take advantage of. Crosby is, he really fans on it. I mean, we've seen Sidney Crosby, look, Sidney Crosby's still a fantastic hockey player, but he really does sort of fan on this shot. I know that he probably wasn't intending necessarily for it to be, it's almost hard to know what he was intending on this one. It works out to their advantage, but I don't know if he's intending it for.
It wasn't. Let's put it this way. It wasn't a fan pass.
Right. I don't know if he was planning it on it as a slap shot or a slap pass, but he doesn't get all of it. Yet it still somehow ends up on the stick of Gensel at the side of the Jets net, and now everybody's scrambling because you're coming out to play it, and it's lucky. I mean, the Penguins were lucky on this one again in that a flub ended up in a good position. And you make your own luck, so I'm not taking anything away from them. But the flub of Crosby ends up on Gensel's stick, and he's able to tuck it over to Rust, and the Jets are just out of position because they're expecting it to not be a flub, and it's 3-0 at that point in time. And it's to the flub goes gets the privilege in some cases. Sometimes the flub ends up in the back of your own net, when things happen poorly. But sometimes when things are going well, the flub can help lead to a goal for your team. And in this case, that was one of those instances.
Yeah, look, I mean, and nobody cries if a team has puck luck and if you get a fortuitous bounce. I mean, that is the way hockey is. And the Jets sometimes during that 12-2-2 stretch, when Kyle Connor was injured, the Jets, I mean, I'm not going to recall them right now because I don't, but I'm sure they were the beneficiaries of more than 1 or 2 of those types of bounces, Drew. So, I mean, it happens in the course of an 82-game schedule. Unfortunately for the Jets, it happened twice for the Pengs in a critical time in the game because really the Jets had a really good start to that second period. So that was the unfortunate part of the Dillon penalty was that it really disrupted the rhythm that the Jets had started to create. And actually, they really, I should say, were creating it to the end of that from the midpoint of the first to the end of the first period and then into the second. The Jets really had started to come on and they'd started to I'm not saying they're dominating, but and you outlined some of the chances that whether it was the fourth line or Ehlers line or even the Scheifele line had created. But ultimately, the second period really had 1 or 2 ways to go. And unfortunately for the Jets, with that power play or the major penalty, they were really, up against it. And that third goal felt like it was the death blow in this game. Right. It did feel like this was the Jets just didn't have enough going on they didn't create enough throughout the course of this hockey game that you felt like, okay, they're scoring 4 goals against Tristan Jarry in these Pens. Just didn't seem like it. And as I've said, we've gotten a pretty good feel for this team over the course, as do most people in this chat. Through the last, obviously the last, whatever it is, 13 years of covering them, but specifically this team, of course. And yeah, I mean, at that point when it's 3-0, I don't believe they even gave up. How many shots did they? I think they almost held Pittsburgh without a shot for like a full period. It felt like. I think from the midpoint of the second until like late in the third, maybe they gave up 1 or 2 shots against. I know they started the third period on a 5-0 run. So I know that they were able. I think it was. I can't remember the shots at that point. I think it was 19 to something in favor of the Penguins to start the third, but the Jets definitely controlled the play. They just couldn't beat Jarry, and they had some chances, right? But that power play goal by Rust was to me was kind of the death blow of this for this game, because it just felt like a 2 goals in that power play sunk them. And look, you're not going to say that was. I know I saw some people say, well, this is the 3rd straight game where they're down to 5 defensemen, right? Because Morrissey got hurt, Dylan got hurt, and now Dylan gets ejected. So it's 3 straight games where you're playing with only 5. But the guys, when we've been talking to them after practice, during that stretch or before, or just before they left for Pittsburgh, they talked about this opportunity. Guys don't mind it. Guys like the extra ice time. Guys like when they get an extra 5, 6, 7, 8 minutes in a game. It gives them more rhythm. So sometimes, again, you don't want to play 10 games in a row, which now it's the 3rd game, Drew. But the truth is, again, this is a big enough gap that I don't think anybody was winded after having to play a few extra minutes in this game. So
it is a bizarre occurrence that they've now gone this many games in a row, losing a defenseman in each of those games. I mean, that
memo to Rick Bonus: go 11-7 next game, just as a way of
just to
countering that.
Yeah, just to make sure you have an extra defenseman there. It is sort of bizarre in that case. And look, the Jets, as we talked about, they had a couple power play opportunities. They had the late power play opportunity in the second period that if you get a goal there, maybe something good happens because you are playing decent at 5-on-5. Well, the answer to that was absolutely not. Tristan Jarry, as a goalie, usually gets called for holding. Not something you typically hear, but in this case, in this weird game that it was tonight, Tristan Jarry got called for holding, and obviously that goal, nothing came of that. And then Ryan Graves took the interference penalty. Nothing came of that. And the Jets, had Mark Scheifele's goal counted. So Scheifele scores, what I'll describe as relatively early in the third period. It wasn't, it wasn't in the back half of the third period. And the way the Jets had been,
was it 6 minutes in?
Something like that. About 6 minutes in. And the way the Jets have been playing at 5-on-5, then maybe something could come of that. But clearly, unfortunately for the Jets or the Jets fans, the goal is disallowed because of the offside. And then the Jets aren't able to get anything else past Tristan Jarry. They had some opportunities. Adam Lowry had a chance in this game. I mean, Vlad Nemesnikov had a couple chances. We mentioned Ehlers. We mentioned Scheifele. Chances, but no dice for the Winnipeg Jets as they drop a 3-0 decision tonight in Pittsburgh against the Penguins. The Jets look to get off the schneid and get back into their scoring ways coming up on Thursday night against the Philadelphia Flyers in the city of brotherly love, a place that has had some weird Jets games. We all remember 9-8 back in the day.
Season 1, wasn't it?
Was that the first season or the second
Pretty
season?
Sure.
Maybe you might be right. With
Galov
being lost in the woods and Pavlik and that was
Pavlictricity, Drew. Pavlictricity.
Yeah, that was one of the most memorable Jets games.
Did Andrew Ladd get the game winner that game?
I think so. I remember the Jets had like a 3-goal lead that they blew, and then they came. Did they come back and tie it and then win it, or did they just come back after Philly tied it and then the Jets won? I can't remember.
If only there was some way we could figure out.
If only we had internet at our disposal. I don't know how we're broadcasting the show without internet. It looks like Darwin says he was at that game.
It was October 27th, 2011. Wait, Darwin was in Philadelphia?
I guess so. I mean, I presume.
It wasn't in Winnipeg, wasn't it?
Well, it wasn't in Winnipeg, that's for sure.
Yeah.
It was in Philadelphia, so Darwin must have been at that game.
Andrew Ladd did have the game winner. Boy, good memory by me. Andrew Ladd did have the game winner with 1:06 left in the third period. Assist to Blake Wheeler and Brian Little. James Van Riemsdyk had tied the game. Mark Stewart scored. He had made it, I guess, 8-6. No, that's crazy. Or no, yeah, he made it 8-7. Sorry, and then James Van Riemsdyk tied it 8-all about 12 minutes later, and then Andrew Ladd. Should we break down that game, Drew? I mean, that game was a lot more exciting, and there were a lot more goals. So, and we could at least give away the shot of the Seagram's shot of the game because
it's never too late. We didn't have a Seagram shot of the game back in 2011, so we might as well give it to Andrew Ladd for scoring the 9-8 winner back in 2011. He gets the Seagram shot of the game.
The Seagram shot of the game.
Big thanks to our friends at Seagram's for their continued support of the Illegal Curve post-game show. Whatever Seagram's product you're drinking, maybe Fireball like yours truly, maybe Seagram's VO, Seagram's 83, whatever is you fancy on your night of libation, you can get it at your local Manitoba Liquor Mart, of course. And please drink responsibly. Big thanks to our friends at Seagram's for their continued support.
Here's a little trivia. Who are the 3 stars in that game?
I'm going to guess it wasn't Pavlik and Brizgalov.
2 Jets, 1 Flyer. The Jet scored the first goal ever for the Jets 2.0.
Nick Antropov?
Okay. He was the first star of the game.
Okay.
The Flyers star is currently the GM of the team.
Danny Briere. And
the second star of the game was a member of GST.
Well, that narrows it down to I have 33% chances of getting this.
Here we go. I've given you 2 easy ones. Here's your hardest one. And I'll tell you the reason he was a star. He had 1 goal, 2 assists in that game. Want a clue?
Well, I mean, you've given me a lot of clues. I got 33% chance. I mean, I'm going to go with Jimmy Slater.
Wrong.
Okay, well then
he's from Saskatchewan.
That was the Tanner Glass.
Correct.
Okay, there you go. We're back down memory lane talking about a 9-8 game. If that's the score on Thursday night, the Betway game recap will last about 4 hours.
It'll be fun.
It'll be something, all right. This was the Betway game recap, brought to you, of course, by our friends at Betway. It's simple, fun, and safe to bet with Betway. So head on over to Betway and bet your way. When we come back on the Illegal Curve post-game show, more on tonight's Jets-Penguins game, more whatever nonsense we come up with, and of course, Tough Duck, hardest hitting comment, and good stuff like that. Don't go anywhere. Drew Mandel, Dave Manouk, Thursday night. It is the Illegal Curve post-game show.
This Valentine's Day, heart-shaped pizzas are back at Boston Pizza. On February 14th, share your favorite delicious Boston pizza with the ones you love. Your locally owned Boston Pizza will donate $1 from every heart-shaped pizza sold to the Travis Price Children's Heart Center and the Children's Hospital Foundation of Manitoba. To order, call 925-4111. This Valentine's, share the love with a heart-shaped pizza from Boston Pizza.
You guys ever wish for a game changer in life?
Like finding out your favorite snack has 0 calories?
Or discovering the mute button on Ezzy?
Picture this, a secret weapon for parking, where you can book a spot a whole month in advance.
Tell me more, Drew.
Pre-book your parking at really low rates, or maybe even for free if you use the code Illegal Curve.
Free? What is this, sorcery?
The Grid Park app. It's a real secret weapon that has affordable game day parking, and to sweeten the deal even more,
I love sweets.
Our listeners can use the code Illegal Curve to park for free.
Holy Zamboni.
Tell me about it. Just download Grid Park, GRYD Park, and use the code Illegal Curve, all one word, to park for free.
The game can change just like that. Accidents happen when you aren't protected. So now what? Getting to your injury quickly can make all the difference. help prevent them from being game changers with Linden Market Dental Center. Bonding, crowns, bridges, and dental implants. State-of-the-art treatments are available to help you get back in the game. To learn more, visit lindenmarketdentalcenter.com. Creating smiles for life.
Your coworkers love you because you always make them laugh. You're the life of the party with stories that have them rolling on the floor. Or maybe you're just the quiet one in the corner with the one-liners that just slay. Do you have what it takes to become Winnipeg's funniest person with a day job? Try your luck. Hit the stage at Rumors Comedy Club, and you could be walking away with $1,000 cash. Winnipeg's funniest person with a day job, presented by Rumors. For all the details, head to rumorscomedyclub.com.
Whoa, Ezzy, everything okay? You look stressed.
Of course I'm stressed. We're moving, the house is upside down, the kids failed miserably at packing the fine china, and my life is in chaos. Chaos!
Yes, that does sound like a problem.
What am I going to do?
Ezzy, relax. Rolly's Transfer Moving and Storage is the answer. With 60 years of experience in moving Manitobans and a track record of exemplary customer service, one call to Rolly's and your stress is gone. No job is too big or too small. Just visit Rollies.com and they will take it from there.
Thanks, Dave, and thank you, Rolly's Transfer Moving and Storage, online at Rollies.com.
For 3 generations and over 80 years, Tough Duck has been making apparel that works and plays as hard as the people who wear it. From jackets to work boots and everything in between, Tough Duck's clothing can handle the harshest environments, even the illegal curve hockey show. Work to live, live to play. Visit toughduck.com. Bottom of the hour, 9:30 Central Time. It is the Illegal Curve post-game show. Drew Mandel, Dave Manouk with you on this Thursday night. It's not Thursday night, Tuesday night. We'll next be with you on Thursday night. I'm getting a little ahead of myself, but you know what I meant. Tuesday night tonight, Thursday night, 2 nights from now, Jets and the Philadelphia Flyers will do battle. It ought to be an interesting one as the Winnipeg Jets look to get off the schneid. They are not able to score goals as of late, and that's something that is certainly going to need to change because the Jets need to score goals in order to win hockey games. That's how that thing works, Dave M. So it ought to be something that the Jets are looking forward to trying to put the puck in the net.
Well, that seems like pretty good logic there, Drew. So I'll go with you on that one. The one thing I want to point out, and I think it's worth noting, the Jets were winning, the Moose were losing. 11 straight for the Moose in terms of losses. The Jets, continue to win. I think they have like 2 losses since December 10th. But now the Moose are winning and the Jets are losing. Moose have won 4 of 5. I'm not turning this into a Manouk Moose minute because it's the AHL All-Star break.
The All-Star break, for God's sake.
Well, there's nothing to talk about. I could talk about Brad Lambert's goals in the All-Star game if folks want.
We have a clear, the Illegal Curve Constitution clearly states there shall be no analysis of anything All-Star game related, be it at the NHL, AHL, ECHL, SPHL, SHL, KHL. I can keep going levels.
All right, fair enough. So no, but I mean, the fact is that it is interesting just to see that they are reversing course right now, and both teams are switching things up. But it'll be interesting, and I guess on that note, Drew, because we didn't mention it to start the show, Axel Jonsson-Fjällby, of course, placed on waivers. The Jets had to make a move when they took Mark Scheifele off of IR, so they put Axel Jonsson-Fjällby. We weren't sure, and to be honest with you, they were treating it like it was a state secret as to who was going on, as if it was like guys, we know it's either Dominic Toninato or Axel Jonsson-Fjällby. It's pretty clear, as I detailed earlier. David Gustafsson will be on IR for the next 12 years, so he's not going to be made available. But yeah, I mean, look, they put Axel Jonsson-Fjällby on waivers. We'll find out tomorrow at 1:00 Central whether he gets claimed. I can't see him getting claimed. He has 2 goals, 3 assists in 26 games for the Jets. I mean, look, maybe a team wants to give him a shot, but I mean, I just don't see it. So we'll see. He'll most likely, my guess is, play his next game for the Moose in Grand Rapids when they take on the Griffins on Friday night. So worth noting, though, that the Jets, like I said, are healthy with the exception of David Gustafson. And, now the big question is Sean Monahan and just in terms of the interest in what did you see from him in his first outing in the Jets? Because I'll just quickly say what, from my perspective, and one of the things, like I said, that I thought John Goins did a really good job of outlining, and again, you can see that video on illegalcurve.com, was how deceptive he is. And if you watched, and I noticed it in the first period, you don't watch where his and you don't watch where his eyes are, because he's already seen where he's going to put the puck. And he's just got a very good talent in that. And it's deceptive. And that was the word I used to describe him. And that was kind of my takeaway watching him through this game. And of course, we're not just solely watching him, but in his first game in a Jets jersey, that was kind of my takeaway, was he's very deceptive. Obviously won a couple of faceoffs, so that's a good thing. But that was kind of my overall takeaway from Sean Monahan in just his first game with Winnipeg.
Well, here's what Rick Bowness had to say about Sean Monahan. He played 15-26 tonight. He had one shot, one hit, won 60% of his faceoffs. Quote, I liked his game. He uses his wingers well. He makes really smart plays with the puck, said Rick Bowness. He's reliable. Again, for his first game and after a break, I'm very happy with his game. What I'd say about the Jets, which is interesting, is they seem very even keel with tonight's result. They don't seem, not that I'd expect them to press a panic button or anything else, but losing 4 in a row, something that no team really wants to do. It's not unprecedented, by the way. It doesn't mean you don't succeed. Vegas lost 4 in a row last year, so
did Colorado.
So did Colorado. So it doesn't mean you can't win the
Tampa Bay, or
you can't go far.
Not in the 56 game season, but when Tampa Bay won the previous one.
Yeah.
They lost 4 in a row, so it happens.
So again, it happens. It's a long year, but the Jets, they seem very even keel. Obviously, they don't want to lose 5 in a row, so it'll be interesting to see how they can bounce back on Thursday night. But I just thought that was an interesting aspect of it. I know fans are always more likely to press the panic button than anybody else, but interesting to note that that's sort of how the Jets are reacting, and that was what Rick Bowness had to say about Sean Monahan's game tonight. Look, I think ultimately it'll be a good acquisition for the Jets. To expect him to step in immediately and be a savior or a world beater is not not reasonable, but he's a good acquisition, I believe, and I think he'll eventually seamlessly fit into that role for the Winnipeg Jets.
And he'll get those guys more ice time. That's the thing. You want to get Ehlers and Perfetti.
Ehlers having more ice time. I mean, and I know that it's broken record and everything else, and Nikolai Ehlers must be one of those guys who, from the fans' eye view, they want to see more from him, but from a coach's view, for whatever reason, they want to see less of him on the ice. They think they think less is more when it comes to Nikolai Ehlers and his deployment.
He had a few passes I don't love. Like, he had a few of those like blind, no look passes that are almost a little more hope than they are, guaranteed in tonight's game. And there are a couple of instances where he needs to shoot the puck. That one when he was coming in, he had all sorts of time and shoots it wide. He's got to hit the net there. But look, he's a solid player. I just want to answer. I think we had a question in the chat about waivers and if there's a number of games. The reality is that if a player gets claimed off waivers, he has to stay with that team, and the team has to keep him on their 23-man roster. If they want to send him down, then he becomes available for any other team to claim him, including the team that lost him on waivers can claim him. And if they're the only ones, then they're allowed to send him directly to their AHL affiliate. So in case you're wondering, in terms of Axel, if, for example, he was claimed by Chicago, for example, and they decide, well, we try him for 3 games, we don't like him, and they put him back on waivers. If the Jets claim him and said they're the only ones, they can send him back down to the minors.
Right, straight to the minors without having
to put him back on waivers. Yeah,
right. Time will tell on that front. I would expect that he's going to clear as well, but who knows? Stranger things have happened, certainly, throughout the NHL in the course of an NHL season. Let's wrap up tonight's post-game show, as we do on each and every post-game show, with the Tough Duck hardest hitting comment.
The Tough Duck hardest hitting comment.
Big thanks to our friends at Tough Duck for their continued support of the Illegal Curve post-game show. I'm going to give the Tough Duck hardest hitting comment tonight to Styles T. I'm not I don't believe I've seen Styles T comment before, and if I'm wrong, then I apologize. But I thought they had a number of good comments in tonight's post game show. This one, luck is setting yourself up to be able to bury a chance. The Jets had chances, they just couldn't bury them. Lowry point blank, definitely was point blank. Kyle Connor shooting 5 feet over the net. Velarde stood around waiting for passes. Wants to see more, but at the same time, thought that the Jets, when they had the opportunity, weren't able to bury them. So congratulations to Styles T for tonight's Tough Duck hardest hitting comment. Please send me an email, drew@illegalcurve.com, and our friends at Tough Duck will hook you up with a toque. You can also slide into my DMs on Twitter @ICDrew. Lots of post-game coverage is on illegalcurve.com. You know that. Dave's little all-star break time off, even though he's still been able to churn out the content. It's now back to the grind. The games get heavier this time of year, Dave, which means your content on the website needs to get heavier as well.
Well, I can tell you right now, Drew, unlike anybody else, we did not take any time off yesterday or Sunday. We were on, and I got to tell you, people liked it. I can't believe how many people checked out that Sean Monahan first media availability as Winnipeg Jet. Last I checked, there were over 30,000 views on that video, which is significant for the ones we post. But look, I mean, he got a lot of new eyes and ears on our channel, which is always a good thing. And I don't even think there was any other teams that we posted it all yesterday. We had the Jets media availabilities. They were immediately in the practice report within 5 minutes of them being concluded, which is probably hours, if not, well, it was at least hours before anybody else had them. So illegalcurve.com, of course, your source for Jets, Moose, and pro hockey news, generally speaking, in Manitoba. So keep coming to us and we'll keep churning it out.
That seems like a fair trade-off. You keep coming, we'll keep producing.
And I want to say, though, sorry, as a quick aside, the one comment I want to make with respect to the Monahan video, because it was significant, I thought, I couldn't get over how many people from Montreal were coming onto the video and leaving very positive comments about the player. And not only that, they weren't just people from Montreal, it was also people from Calgary as well. So there was a lot of love for number 23 left for him in that video. A lot of people saying, you got this player, you got this player. If you didn't get a chance to check it out, you can check it out. And the other thing I posted on the website today, which is worth checking out, is he did a podcast with former Winnipeg Jet Tim Stapleton and former Montreal Canadian Chris Knuckles Nyland, the Raw Knuckles podcast. And that actually was recorded before he got traded, but it's kind of a good pick. It's about a 35-minute chat with Sean Monahan, and it talks about his time in Calgary, his time in Montreal, and gives you a little insight into the player. So if you didn't get a chance to check out that one, check out that one. And like I said, check out that John Goyen, the former QMJHL coach. He was on Daily Faceoff talking about the impact that Monahan could have in the bumper position on the Jets power play. So check out those two videos on a little site called Rob Mahoney, illegalcurve.com.
There you go. Rob making it for those in the podcast. Rob making the standard. Oh, we didn't know there was a website joke, but yes, the website is there and goes strong as well.
You might not know, but tens of thousands others do. Rob.
There you go. Big thank you to all of you for joining us tonight on the Illegal Curve post-game show. Big thank you to all of our sponsors, our friends at Rumors Restaurant and Comedy Club. Grid Park, be sure to use code Illegal Curve to park for free. Our friends at Linden Market Dental Center, Zappia Group Realty, Betway, they sponsor the post-game show. Tough Duck, Boston Pizza, details coming about the next Boston Pizza live on location, live broadcast at the end of the month. So be sure to stay tuned for that, February 29th. Our friends at Seagram's, of course, Rolly's Transfer and Farmery Beer, home of Illegal Curve Lager. Support these fine businesses because of their continued support of Illegal Curve Hockey. We're next in action Thursday night. It coincides with the Jets schedule. I don't know if you folks have figured that out yet. When the Jets play, we do a post-game show. So post-game show will be at a similar time, right around 8:30 p.m., give or take a couple minutes on Thursday night. So we look forward to that. In the meantime, please smash the like button if you haven't already done so. Subscribe to the website. Subscribe to the YouTube channel. Leave us feedback here, there, and everywhere. Want to know what you guys think about the Illegal Curve post-game show. We also ask you to tell your friends, tell your family the best place to be after each and every Winnipeg Jets game. And again, on Saturday mornings for the last 15 years is the illegalcurve.com YouTube channel. Thanks to everyone for joining us. For Dave Minuk, I'm your host, Drew Mandel. Until Thursday at 8:45 p.m., we wish you good night and good luck. Thanks for watching the Illegal Curve post-game show.